The UK's emergency use authorization of the Pfizer vaccine is welcome news as England emerges from lockdown. Retailers are reopening with extended hours ahead of the Christmas holiday, while bars and restaurants reopen with restrictions. Joining me now from London is Bloomberg's Emma Chandra. Emma, it's good to see you this morning. Thanks for joining us on Quick Take. First off, explain the magnitude of this news and how the decision was made.
It is really enormous news, actually, leading all the bulletins over here in the UK and, of course, in the rest of the world too. The UK, the first Western country to approve a COVID-19 vaccine and the first globally to approve the Pfizer BioNTech vaccine. The Prime Minister saying this paves the way for a return to normality. The Health Secretary, Matt Hancock, here saying that the UK by the spring could be through this. But he also said that this particular vaccine does pose challenges, and that is, of course, because of the way that the Pfizer BioNTech vaccine works. It's 2 doses, so if you're vaccinating an entire population, you've got to give them 2 shots or 2 jabs, as we say here in the UK. It also has to be stored at minus 70 degrees Celsius, and that poses challenges too. But you asked how this decision was made. It was made by the regulator here, and they are saying that this vaccine is safe, and that's why we may see the rollout of this vaccine starting as soon as next week, Tim.
So, Emma, talk to me a little bit about these challenges, because Health Secretary Matt Hancock, as you mentioned, he also did say that this is going to be one of the biggest civilian projects in the UK's history. How are hospitals right now preparing? How are medical staff preparing?
You're absolutely right. He did say one of the biggest civilian projects in history, and that does come down to the fact that you are trying to vaccinate an entire population. We know, though, that the entire population will not be vaccinated immediately. There is a priority list, and we're looking at care home or patients or elderly people in care homes and care home staff. They will be first on the list, then NHS workers, and then the priority list goes through various vulnerable groups before you get to the rest of the population. What we're seeing at the moment is it will be administered first in hospitals, and that is to do with the nature of the vaccine. As I mentioned earlier, the fact that it has to be stored at this minus 70 degrees Celsius. There are 50 hospitals in the UK that are getting themselves ready to administer this vaccine. So it will happen there before it happens in GP surgeries or family doctors' surgeries or at pharmacists. There are 800,000 doses ready to go. They're coming from Belgium. Some of them, we understand, are already on their way. Then the vaccine, of course, we are starting to see some concerns about how this rollout will happen. We're saying it's one of these biggest civilian projects ever. Now, there has been criticism of the UK government over the course of the pandemic, of its handling of that pandemic, particularly in the early months when we saw shortages of PPE. So there will be a lot of pressure on the government to get this right, Tim.
Emma, I'm curious about the mood in London, the mood in the UK. I mean, we learned of this overnight, so I think a lot of our viewers woke up here in the US this morning to this news. But what was it like when you heard the news in the UK?
I think there is a lot of excitement. A lot of people are pinning their hopes on a vaccine for that return to normality. Of course, we're seeing England now opening up again after its second lockdown. A lot of people really wanting life to return to normal. We have heard from scientists this morning also with notes of caution with the vaccine, saying this is great news. But of course, people still have to abide by social distancing rules and various other rules, because a lot of people will not be vaccinated for some months. And so we have this sense of euphoria among a lot of people, but also this sense that you still have to wait, you still have to abide by these rules before you can get back to that normality. But certainly people are very excited that there appears to be some light at the end of the tunnel.
I guess I wonder if the light at the end of the tunnel is too far away for some businesses in the UK. We've been following the stories closely about the tens of thousands of workers whose jobs are at risk right now, from large stores closing in the UK, the more than 100,000 retail workers in the UK who've lost their jobs. Take us through what the impact this vaccine will have or could have on businesses in the UK.
Well, businesses, of course, very excited that if you have a vaccinated population, you're going to see more people out and willing to spend, particularly consumer businesses. You've, of course, mentioned retailers there. And just this week, 2 of the biggest names on the UK high street, Debenhams, that's a department store, and also Arcadia Group, which owns the likes of Topshop, they're collapsing. A lot of blame there going onto the global pandemic for that reason. But retailers at the moment in England, very excited because, as we've mentioned, we're seeing this opening up of the economy, a lot of them opening to today with extended hours. We've seen lines or queues outside stores as people have wanted to go in and shop. And of course, this second lockdown that we saw in England came at a really, really tough time for retailers. It was just as they were gearing up for that holiday shopping season. We discussed before how important the holiday shopping season is for retailers, and taking a big proportion of their annual sales during these 2 months. So retailers very excited. I know I personally received a number of emails this morning from retailers reminding me that they were open and that they hope to see me through the doors soon, which perhaps I'll try and do on the weekend when we get some time off work. But it's really interesting to me. I had that from high street retailers, but also from luxury retailers. We're hearing them as well, trying to do as much as they can to get shoppers through the door. We even saw that from Harrods, that very high-end department store here in London. They're starting their Christmas sale early, something they've never done before. And in fact, we heard from their MD this morning.
All right, Bloomberg's Emma Chandra in London. Thanks as always for your time, Emma. It's great to see you on Quick Take this morning. Well, the UK government says 800,000 doses are ready to go. So is this really the beginning of the end? The UK regulatory agency spoke about the approval.
Been done using a process known as a rolling review. A rolling review can be used to complete the assessment of a promising medicine or a vaccine in a situation where time is of the essence, in the shortest time possible. But, and this is a very important point indeed, that doesn't mean that any corners have been cut, none at all.
The biggest stories the moment they happen from around the globe. Subscribe to Bloomberg Quick Take now for insight in an instant.